not.
We'll be covering is about the self-registration, what you are supposed to do, how do you log in into the portal, and what is the type of courses that you're going to learn here, what is the number of assignments and activities that you'll be doing it up, and how do you upload those things into the system. Right. So the first part here is about the login and registration process. As a first step, this is the URL for the e-learning portal that we will be assigning to you. All these document related data will be mailed to you with a step-by-step guide. So please ensure that you are following the right URL as given in the document. As Nirmala has pointed out, do not try to just go and search for a website of PBL app and then land up into some wrong URL or old URL links. So the link is provided on your document here. Now what happens? In your browser, you are going to open this link for the very first time, right? So when you open this URL for the very first time on your browser, you will be redirected to a URL registration and authentication activity, right? So I repeat, that is not for the your regular access, it is for to access the URL first. Now you get into this particular page where you have a sign in, but since you are a first time user, you need to go for this one. There is a link called sign up now. I repeat, when you open it for the first time, you need to go for the sign up now link. Okay, so once you go for the sign up now, you need to do a registration. The registration is very simple. First, you need to provide the email ID over here. And a very important point to note is the email ID should be same as what you are given in Wipro records during your registration process. So only that email ID will be authorized. So provide the same email ID over here. The moment you provide the email ID, you just click on the send verification code. You'll get a 6-digit code valid for 35 seconds to 40 seconds. Re-enter that code on a new text box which is come next to the email ID. Once the verification is done, you set your new password. You set your own password for accessing this page, right? So you set your password, confirm it, give a display name, surname and given name. Only this much of data is required, and you click on the create button. You get your account created. So this is a one-time activity, right? I repeat, this is a one-time activity of doing a self-registration. Once that is done, for the subsequent opening, all you need to do is a sign in process, right? Which you have seen in the earlier screen. You can directly give the email ID and the password over here. Now you are doing your email ID, you are providing your password. So every time you give your username and password, you will get a verification code sent to your mobile, the email ID, registered email ID, get that and re-enter it again. Now, once you are signed in, which means you are ready to use our URL, right? Still you are not logged into the URL. You are being given authorization to access our URL. This is a one-time activity. This will not repeat unless you are clearing your browser history, right? Now where you go on a regular basis, when you open the page, you come into this area, right? You have the home page with a login button on the top. So this is a regular page which is going to get displayed to you after your one-time registration activity. Now you click on the login, provide the same email ID and the password, get a verification tag, right? So these are the steps which you can see. Once you provide the email ID and password, it will ask for your verification. Click on the send the verification code. You get a verification code. Give the verification code, and once you click on the continue button, you get a message saying email address is verified. So if your email is authenticated, verified, you can go to the next phase. At the same time, yeah, right. Now I have been authenticated successfully. Once I have been authenticated, you will get a pop-up of this with a welcome message and your display name, which means your first step of authentication is completed. Now what is happening in the second step? It is asking you to enter your PBL app ID. So what is the PBL app ID? It is nothing but the resume ID which is being given to you. I repeat, your PBL app ID is same as your resume ID. So what you need to do here? Provide your resume ID. Once you provide the resume ID, click on this checkbox and click on the proceed button. This will take you to the completion of the second stage of authentication for you to access the content. Right. Now, what are the common errors that you may get at this stage of authentication? If I'm going to give a wrong resume number, you'll get an invalid PBL app ID. If you are going to give a right resume number, but the email ID what you have registered is wrong, it is not as per our records. Might be you have given some email ID to us, but you have done a registration with another email ID, then you will get account not found. The third error, all this authentication should happen between 30 to 45 seconds. If you are having a delay, either you have a delay by entering the authentication code and IDs, or your network has a disconnect in between, then you will get the authentication as session expired. So in that case, all you need to do is just do a re-login and continue. This is a common messages that you may get if something goes wrong during your authentication phase. Right. So this is all about the registration and login activity. Now you are successfully done with all these things. What is next? That is the actual learning part for you. Now once you successfully log in, you get into this landing page where you have two parts into your learning. One is PJP Foundation and the other one is the PJP Core. So you have two set of learning. What is the foundation learning and followed by the core part. First, let's look into what is available in the foundation content. So as a foundation, every fresher who is entering into the IT world needs a minimum understanding on certain technology, which is bare minimum. So we have categorized you with the four such basic things: OS, database fundamental, OOPS, and web programming. So all these four courses will help you get a recap kind